Dragons in anime aren't just flying lizards with fire breath. They're chaos, legends, and emotional damage wrapped in scales. Today, we're counting down the greatest dragon anime ever, with hype, honesty, and zero nostalgia goggles. Kicking off with number 10, Dragonar Academy. Dragonar Academy is one of those anime that looks cute, then immediately decides to be aggressively weird. You've got Ash Blake, a guy who's supposed to summon a majestic dragon and instead gets a tiny girl dragon with attitude problems. Classic anime betrayal. The show leans hard into ecchi comedy, sometimes too hard, but underneath the fan service chaos, there's a surprisingly fun dragon rider concept. The dragons aren't just pets. They're status symbols, weapons, and emotional landmines. When battles hit, the animation actually wakes up and you remember why you're here. The villain drama is serviceable, the academy politics are mildly spicy, and the tone constantly flips between fantasy epic and what did I just watch? It's messy, but self-aware enough to stay entertaining. You won't call it peak fiction, but you'll definitely finish it thinking, yeah, that was dumb, but I had fun. And sometimes, that's enough. This is Emiverse Anime. Watch this video to the end and hit that subscribe button now. Sliding to number 9, Dragon Ball. Yes, Dragon Ball counts, and no, we're not debating it in the comments. The literal name has dragon in it, and Shenron alone has granted more wishes than most isekai gods. Dragon Ball is foundational anime history, the blueprint for power scaling arguments that still ruin friendships today. The dragons here aren't constantly fighting, but when they appear, everything stops. Summoning Shenron feels like a global event every single time. Beyond that, the series treats dragons as divine forces, not just monsters, which gives them real weight. Sure, later arcs turn wish-granting into a casual errand, but early Dragon Ball understood mysticism. Plus, without this series, half your favorite anime wouldn't exist. It's goofy, dramatic, endlessly iconic, and somehow still emotionally effective decades later. You don't watch Dragon Ball for dragons every episode. You watch it because when the dragon shows up, you know reality itself is about to get rewritten. Landing on number 8, Spirited Away. Spirited Away isn't screaming dragon anime at first glance, but Haku's dragon form is unforgettable. Studio Ghibli doesn't do loud power scaling or explosive battles. It does atmosphere, symbolism, and emotional gut punches. Haku transforming into a dragon feels sacred, dangerous, and gentle all at once. Dragons here represent memory, identity, and freedom, not just raw strength. The movie trusts the audience to feel things without over-explaining, which makes every scene land harder. The world building is effortless, the visuals are timeless, and the dragon imagery sticks with you long after the credits roll. This isn't a hype-driven dragon story. It's a quiet one that crawls into your soul and refuses to leave. If you only think dragons are cool when they're breathing fire, this will change your perspective. Spirited Away proves dragons can be beautiful, tragic, and deeply human without throwing a single punch. Looking at number 7, Dragon Crisis. Dragon Crisis is pure early 2010s energy, and it doesn't apologize for it. Ryuji accidentally ends up protecting Rose, a dragon girl who looks harmless, but could absolutely erase a city if she sneezed wrong. The show thrives on chaotic pacing, sudden action bursts, and supernatural nonsense that escalates fast. One minute it's lighthearted romance, the next it's dragons leveling entire areas like it's Tuesday. Rose herself is the highlight, balancing innocence with terrifying potential, and that duality keeps things interesting. Are the villains forgettable? Mostly. Does the plot sometimes sprint past logic? Absolutely. But the dragon combat slaps harder than expected, and the emotional beats sneak up on you. It's not refined, it's not deep, but it's entertaining in that I'll watch one more episode way. Sometimes dragons don't need philosophy. They just need to cause problems on screen. Crashing into number 6, Dragon Drive. Dragon Drive feels like a forgotten gem from anime's experimental phase. It mixes virtual worlds, dragon partners, and coming-of-age themes in a way that's way better than it sounds on paper. Reiji starts off weak, insecure, and honestly pretty annoying, which makes his growth satisfying instead of instant. His dragon partner evolves alongside him, both physically and emotionally, reinforcing the bond angle hard. The series treats dragons as reflections of their riders, not just weapons, which adds depth. The animation shows its age, but the storytelling carries it. Stakes rise gradually, character losses actually matter, and the final arc goes harder than expected. It's not flashy like modern anime, but it's sincere. Dragon Drive understands that dragons are cooler when they represent growth, fear, and responsibility. If you missed this one growing up, it's worth revisiting with adult eyes and lowered nostalgia shields. Soaring into number 5, Dragonaut: The Resonance. Dragonaut starts deceptively quiet, then slowly tightens the emotional screws. The bond between Jin and his dragon Toa feels personal, intimate, and earned. This isn't a summon and dominate situation. It's mutual dependence, pain, and trust. The series blends sci-fi elements with fantasy dragons, creating a unique identity that stands out. Government conspiracies, ethical questions about using dragons as weapons, and tragic backstories pile up fast. Some pacing issues exist, especially mid-series, but when it hits emotional peaks, it hits hard. The dragons feel alive, not just animated assets. You care when they're hurt, angry, or lost. Dragonaut doesn't always stick the landing perfectly, but its ambition deserves respect. It wants dragons to mean something beyond spectacle, and most of the time, it succeeds. This is one of those shows that quietly earns its place. Descending at number 4, Rage of Bahamut Genesis. Rage of Bahamut Genesis is chaos done right. The art style is bold, expressive, and allergic to being boring. Every dragon appearance feels massive, biblical, and terrifying. Bahamut himself isn't just a monster. He's an apocalypse with wings. The show balances humor, adventure, and dark fantasy without losing momentum. Favaro is a lovable disaster of a protagonist, and the supporting cast carries serious weight. The action choreography goes way harder than expected, and the world feels alive, dangerous, and unpredictable. Dragons here are forces of nature, not obstacles to farm for loot. The pacing is tight, the stakes are real, and the final act is unforgettable. This series doesn't waste time explaining why dragons are scary. It shows you repeatedly. If you want dragons that feel ancient, unstoppable, and mythologically terrifying, this is mandatory viewing. Charging into number 3, Ragna Crimson. But trust me, number 3, it'll mess with your head in the best way possible. Ragna Crimson flips the dragon narrative completely. Dragons aren't majestic. They're tyrants, gods, and walking extinction events. Ragna himself is fueled by rage, trauma, and pure spite, and the story embraces that darkness unapologetically. Every dragon antagonist feels intelligent, cruel, and terrifying in unique ways. The violence isn't flashy for fun. It's brutal because the world demands it. Crimson adds chaotic energy, moral ambiguity, and constant tension. You never feel safe, and that's the point. This isn't a power fantasy where dragons lose easily. Every victory feels earned through sacrifice. The show challenges the idea that heroes always win cleanly. It's intense, emotionally draining, and absolutely addictive. If you like your dragon stories dark, sharp, and merciless, Ragna Crimson delivers. Gliding into number 2, Burn the Witch. Burn the Witch oozes style from every frame. Set in the Bleach universe's London branch, it treats dragons like everyday disasters managed by magical bureaucracy. The concept alone is genius. Dragons here range from misunderstood creatures to full-blown city-ending threats. Noel and Ninny are fantastic leads, balancing sarcasm, competence, and vulnerability. The pacing is fast, the humor lands, and the soundtrack enhances the cool factor effortlessly. It's short but dense, wasting zero time. The dragon designs are creative, unsettling, and memorable. While it leaves you wanting more, that's part of its charm. Burn the Witch feels confident, modern, and refreshing. It doesn't over-explain its world, trusting viewers to keep up. Dragons aren't rare legends here. They're problems that need solving before lunchtime. And honestly, that perspective rules. Claiming number 1, Record of Lodoss War. Record of Lodoss War is legendary for a reason. This is classic high fantasy done with sincerity and respect for its world. Dragons here feel ancient, noble, and terrifying like creatures pulled straight from tabletop mythology. The storytelling is slower but deliberate, allowing tension to build naturally. When dragons appear, it matters. The music, art, and tone create an epic atmosphere modern anime still tries to replicate. Characters aren't overpowered. Victories come at a cost. Lodoss treats dragons as symbols of power, balance, and destruction, not plot devices. It laid the groundwork for countless fantasy anime that followed. Watching it feels like reading an old legend brought to life. It's timeless, influential, and still emotionally effective today. If you want the definitive dragon anime experience, this is the gold standard. And that's my ultimate dragon anime countdown, from chaotic academy dragons to world-ending legends. If your favorite didn't make the list, fight me politely in the comments. Drop a like if you enjoyed the ride, subscribe for more anime chaos, and tell me which dragon anime deserves the throne next.